Okay, so we are back at it again, and we are going to. I got Tyler here, and we're gonna do a different topic for today while we play some games. We got some Red Dead in the background here, and we're gonna go from there. So why don't you start, and then we'll just jump right into it.
Oh yeah.
So like
Um,
state what the topic is, and then give your little part of it, and then we'll bounce back and forth.
I wanted to kind of talk about how like the past, present, and future are all kind of like happening at the same time, and uh, how you might be able to sort of understand how it's happening. I guess.
Well,
Um,
um, from that basis alone. I would say it guess it depends on your perception of that, because at least the way I understand it is that the past, present, and the future are happening at the quantum level all at the same time, but in this linear space, in the 3D here on Earth, it does happen in a forward motion. We are in the present, and time is in a constant state of forward motion, being the present towards the future, and the past is behind it. But at the quantum level, and in a higher density, time doesn't exist in the way that we perceive it. Time exists at past, present, and future all at the same time. And so they say that when you die, that you're kind of like already aware of it in a sense, and then you almost like go back and forth and have this almost like a movie play out because you've already experienced it from a higher self perspective. That's at least my knowledge on that. And then there's a little bit more to it, but
yeah. I don't know. In the only other place I've seen this sort of topic explored was in The Good Place. That thing I kind of was telling you about.
oh man, yeah, it would have been good to for me to have seen a trailer or something.
Like I don't even know how to explain it to you from how the show depicts it because they depict it in a digestible manner
Well, yeah, just give me what you
time
remember.
time moves in a Jeremy Bearimy.
Okay.
It means nothing when you first hear it, but like if you write out Jeremy Bearimy in cursive, that's how time moves. It like loops
Hmm.
around and comes back and folds in on itself and then
Ooh, ooh.
sometimes squiggles over there.
Okay, it's interesting you say that. There's this show on Netflix called Dark, and I know you're not really big on watching shows. This is a really big one. That's amazing. They have a time warp situation between three different points in time that coincide, intersect, and then they have a doorway between the three of them, and they're able to time travel between the three points in time based on an event that happened where they made a black hole, and they made this an event horizon kind of style thing at a nuclear facility, and then they have almost like parallel versions of Earth, and they go off of that whole situation, and then throughout the show you try and figure out how it's all connected, and they explain it all of it, but like you as the viewer are trying to um even figure it out yourself, like how does this make any sense, and Um, it eventually does make sense, but it's one of those things where you have to just kind of watch it, and the way that they do it is amazing. Like kind of like you were saying, is it bends and it folds in on itself, and you end up repeating the same thing that you were trying to avoid, or it just all depends on how. And they did this in like Prince of Persia too.
Or
Have you
like
seen?
you think you're going back in time, but you somehow end up further forward in time.
Yeah, yeah. And especially if you do the wrong thing and your goal was to try and change something, the thing that you changed ended up causing what started all of it in the first place. And then you realize that you're the reason that you even went back in time in the first place. And a lot of times they do that twist where you end up meeting your future self, and your future self is trying to stop you from doing it in the first place. There's a bunch of different. There's like one called Quantum something, Quantum Bridge, or I mean, there's Quantum Break. They did a show and a game with that, but the Quantum Bridge, it's like a movie you could just watch on like YouTube for free. That one is really cool. The concept is he goes into a motel room. This guy tells him, "Hey man, like, we've been through this. Don't worry about it. Why don't you just go check under the floorboard there in the bathroom?" And he's like, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?" And he goes and he opens up the floor in the bathroom, and there's this little slit in the vinyl, and he climbs down into the ground, pulls the vinyl up over him, and then he comes out of it, and it's like a week ago.
What
And then he
the
does it again,
fuck?
and it's like another week. And then he does it again and does it again, and he could go back as far as he wanted in this motel room, and it would just keep going. That was like one of the
That's
coolest little, like, it was a really cheap film, not too much of a high budget, um but the concept is on its own is amazing, and not too many different, not too many actors, and it was just beautiful. It was so good, and it's got like a nice twist at it. It's got a little bit of romance, or at least the idea of romance. Maybe not actual romance. Because he's got a girl that he's trying to like solve a problem with, because he messed up and missed his chance with her or something like that.
how he keeps trying to go back in time or back to that point to fix it.
Well, yeah, because like he missed his chance and then she ends up with another guy. He wonders if he can go talk her out of it and end up with her instead. You know what's crazy though? In that time loop, you're not actually the you that gets to experience that. A version of you does, but the you that does that isn't the conscious you, is not even the you that gets to do that. That's the wild thing about those time movies, is you end up having to become an old man or live to actually solve that situation, because that's what, like, not to spoil it, but he ends up being the owner of the shop, and you see the owner before, and he checks you out in the motel, and the owner is you as an old man.
Bro, that what
That means that he
there's
had to go so far back to be able to help her out. Like he played the long game so that the younger version of you gets to have her as your girlfriend. Yeah, dude, fucking mind blown.
what's fucking I've seen that happen in like Futurama.
Yeah, they
That's
did. Yeah,
insane.
they've
What
done
the
it.
fuck?
Honestly, they've done it over and over again, and I think it's amazing that they do. Like, yeah, I know what you're talking about with Fry,
Yeah, yeah. Oh my god, yeah.
because he's
Duh.
fucking
That's
Phil.
insane.
Because
Yeah. Oh my
he's
god. I'm
fucking
so
Phil.
glad you've seen that.
Of course, dude. I
That
fucking
makes me so
Lars.
happy.
I'm Lars. I'm Lars. I'm coming, Leela.
The realization.
Dude, I fucking love their love story. It hurts so bad because she fucking wants him and she just doesn't do anything about it. Like, fuck. Honestly,
And I
I
don't
hated
even
it.
know exactly why.
Why he wants her? He just fell in love with her.
No, no, no. Why she doesn't want him.
It's one of those self-fulfilling prophecy kind of things where she thinks she'll never be good enough for anybody, and because he's actually good for her, she doesn't want him. Because she does. It's a self-doubt cycle.
Oh.
So you think that you're never good enough for anybody, and so you continue to get with sleazy guys, and I guess women can do this too. So I'm not trying to say that it's just a guy thing, but or a girl thing. Um, and then you're so down on yourself that you don't think that you deserve better, and then you push the guy that you know would be good for you away, even though you really want to be with him because you don't think you deserve it.
Ah, the classic.
Yeah. It's the whole, I mean, there's more to it, obviously, than that. There's definitely layers to it, but that's the simple end of it. Because there are a couple times where she finally does go out with him, and it's great, and like they have a good time. There's even like a scene where they end up getting old together, and they grow old, and then they start over again. But she
But
forgets.
sorry, I didn't mean to fucking get us off topic.
No, 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 I don't care. That's good. There's got to be
Okay.
a little bit of girth here to the. We can kind of glide back now.
A
So
little bit of girth.
to kind of like go to drip back into it. Basically, time is something that I feel like this we can go to the part of it where I was talking to you about at work. Um, if our brains, this is the concept that I started to develop, and I had some information I found. I don't have a whole lot of kind of sources to go with this, but let's just say, for example, if I'm understanding correctly, and our brains are quantum computers, at the quantum level, if time doesn't exist, then that means in your brain space, your mind alone, you can develop and conceive concepts that your future self would have information to, and you can have access to that information. So, just on the manifestation aspect alone, you alone can see the future to every infinite possible future that you will experience and that you want. And then you can move forward your life into that direction and take the actions and steps that you would need to do to get to that future that you desire. Because there's a version of you already living out that experience and having achieved it. Like that's how manifestation even works. Like I was hearing it
Okay.
from like a channeling the other day. You're not becoming a different you're not like taking over anyone else's. You're like what you're actually doing is you are shifting timelines into a body. You're shifting bodies, and your consciousness is you, and you're taking over not taking over, but kind of merging consciousness with a version of yourself that you want to be, and you do it a billion times a second. But if you start to actively become aware of it and you start to choose how to do it, then you can choose the reality that you want. And when you do this, you are now aligning with a version of yourself in a physical body, but it has the attributes in that life that you want.
And I think I remember you telling me something about this,
Yeah, no, and
like when we were on the clock.
yeah, this came from like a
What?
channeling from Bashar, and he was saying it, and the way he was explaining it was like really intense, and there's a couple other spiritual stuff that explains this, that it's like you're not you are consciousness, and you're not um you're jumping timelines, but when you do this, it's something that you're not even aware of because it happens so quickly that you're not even necessarily the same you were like 5 minutes ago, or even like seconds ago because of how quickly information goes. um so if you become aware of it, then you can start to choose and become the decision maker of this, and you can start to move towards um something that you desire more. And that all just boils down to the same thing it always does, which is the manifestation aspect of all that. But it's also like what you do with it, and it's more just the awareness of it on a general level, and then also I guess becoming more and more aware that we are all like more or less psychic in our own ways, and that as a collective we just are. I think that's something that a lot of us have lost because we have been so programmed to deny it or be against it or I guess deny it would be the simplest way to say that. To kind of come back to that is how at least in my own experience how I've come to learn how to do new things and experience different avenues. And let's say like hypothetically that what I'm saying is like whatever. The other thing that's interesting is it doesn't hurt to try it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the other thing I always try and push to people is that you tried everything else and nothing else is working. you know, um, I did a little bit of research and I looked up the Law of One. I looked up, which is a channeling from the raw consciousness. It's like Egypt stuff. And I looked up the
Yeah.
laws of the universe. And when you look up all this stuff, they basically are explaining like um, almost like a cheat sheet for how reality works on its own. And I started following that, and my life started to change. You know, and a lot of it is really just on belief. You could boil it down to that it's your belief, your innate belief in the concept alone is what drives that. But then it also could be, I guess, your lack of belief, right? Because that plays a
Yeah.
factor too. Your own self-doubt that it's not going to work out is also a self-fulfilling prophecy in the same way that it is a fulfilling prophecy. Because if you don't believe it, then it's not going to happen, right?
But if you believe you'll fail, it'll probably happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is honestly, on a personal level, that has always helped me get through life, is that I've always just believed that it was going to work out. And I'm not, and when people hear this, they get the wrong idea. They're like, okay, well, that's not how things work. You can't just believe your way through life. And it's like, okay, right, I get that. It is one part belief and two part having to actually put in the physical work. No one's saying you don't
Yeah.
have to put in the physical work. You actually have to try, and you have to want to keep going. You know, you have to
Like
want to put
fucking
in the
growing a
effort,
tree.
like growing a tree. You know, it's not going to happen overnight, but eventually it will take root and it will sprout and it will go somewhere. But it takes time, and you have to cultivate it, and you have to put in the actual steps to get yourself there. You know, um, I was saying this on one of the last recordings. Is what does it take to get a car? Let's say that the simplest thing that you want is you want a car. Well, you still have to save money. You still have to look at the designs. And so a simple thought experiment that you could do to get yourself in that mindset is why not just jot down what you want before you start that process, right? I want
Yeah,
a
exactly.
car that's blue, and I want leather seats, and I want, something that I learned from the spiritual community is start small. Start with what you can see. Write down what you want. Write down all the details you can think of about that, and think of as many details as you can about that. And then think about it. You could even do like I guess a little like manifestation ritual, and you could burn the paper. But even just on a basic level, just writing it down, thinking about it, and then putting it away, and then okay, and then you let it go. You stop thinking about it, you stop worrying about it, you stop stressing about it, and then you start living your life. Eventually, it will just happen. But you have to actually put forward the steps to get it there. Um, and honestly, it's that simple, but it I guess sometimes I feel like we overcomplicate it.
And I think
Here,
a
go
lot of
ahead.
the time people don't really, you know, when you try to explain that to people, uh, I feel like a lot of the time they're older people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So they haven't really had to have that thought I mean, maybe one older person comes to mind that would definitely get what we're talking about.
Yeah, I've met a fair amount of people who are on the level at least for that stuff, but it just
Like, you
goes.
know what
I
I
guess
mean?
it.
The people who are supposed to be our like elders and stuff.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it just comes down to a mindset. Like, are you really seeing it for what? Are you even giving it a shot? And if you're not, then maybe that's something you have to think about. Um, in talks with someone else, they said that it sounds like I understand what you're saying, but it sounds like you're making it more fantastical than it is. And my response back to that was, well, maybe that could be true to a certain extent, but it just seems like this is the way that it does work. And then it really just comes down to how do you move forward with this new idea? Because and we were saying a minute ago, like why not give it a try? Like really try and see where that could take you, right?
Exactly.
Um, but I guess back to the time stuff. So I had a moment, and I've had a moment a couple times where I I was looking. I had this like that window thing. I was trying to explain the window thing. So it's like you're looking into the future as a kid and you can't quite understand it, but you do understand it. And then you get to that point as an adult, and the window is like open, and you can see back into time when you at to the point that this is the moment that you had looked at. That now you are the older version of yourself looking back at the younger version of yourself, right?
Yeah.
And
I guess
then and
sort of like
then
going into one of those fun houses with a bunch of mirrors.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And the strange thing that I noticed is that you almost have like a deja vu or kind of like an aha moment, and you're like, wow, okay, now I am you. Like I'm the older person looking back at the younger me, going, wow, like we're actually here, and it's it's an interesting thought process, and it's simple, but it's also like you know the getting to that is the interesting part of that, like. As an example, like when you become aware of it, think of where you want to be in 5 years. Think of where you want to be in 10 years, or even like a year. Like start small, start a couple months, and then start to think of all the ways that you want it to go, all the way you don't want it to go, and just really getting that stuff down, and then um it's like the same thing with the car, but I don't know. It really changed things for me to start living like that in that way. Uh, and I found out that a lot of things have worked out for me for doing that. It's at least been in my experience. Do you have anything?
Mostly just because I don't really have much experience in like having to plan that critically on the fly. Like
Okay.
you sort of already know about my situation. I'm pretty sedentary with how I live my life at the moment.
Yeah, that's fair point.
And
Well, no, go
and
ahead.
honestly, from what I've heard, it's not a bad thing either. Cause like even you know, well, like one of the people we work with is living that lifestyle right now on the fly. Like,
Yeah, true.
and I think that's it's pretty cool. Like you said, free spirited.
Yeah, it has its ups and downs.
And exactly. but like I don't know, having that flexibility of planning within the first 1 to 5 years, like
I guess
for whatever you're doing.
I guess it depends on your goals, right?
Yeah, exactly. Cause like what you're doing could take longer than 5 years.
Like, what do you really want to see come to fruition in the near future, and then how are you going to get there? Yeah, definitely. Like, where do you go from here?
But it's like when you get to that point, having that in I kind of want to segue into talking about that deja vu.
Oh,
Having
go
that
ahead.
intense deja vu moment when you get older, and then sort of having that mirror moment, that realization.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like I don't really know how to explain it,
yeah. It's kind of like in the Matrix. Like in the Matrix,
which
um,
I have not seen, by the way.
I know. In the Matrix, there's a glitch in the Matrix, and they call that like their version of deja vu. And when that happens, you see a cat, right? And then you see that same cat pass you again. It's like that moment where something catches your eye in your everyday reality, but it's so out there that it shocks you to the point that you're like, okay, well that's new. And it's your awareness and your attention to that is telling like usually what they say in the spiritual community is that you when you have that moment you are experiencing the preferred reality. I will say it like that instead of what they usually say. So
Okay,
let's say that you had a goal and you know what you want for the future, and then you've already been looking at that. When you have a deja vu moment, it's you basically the universe reminding you that you're on the right path that gets you to that preferred reality. That makes sense?
yeah.
And so without having to necessarily do a whole lot extra, um, it's just another reminder that you're on the right path.
Okay, and
And
that makes
then
sense
yeah.
because it's not like a bad deja vu feeling,
Well, and
but
then
it
it's
is a
basic.
super intense deja vu feeling.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're basically just catching up to that moment where you're like, I've already been here, and it's because you have. You're just catching up to it consciously now. Because your subconscious is aware of it. And that's something that's crazy that also learned is that 90% of your actions are governed by your subconscious.
That makes sense.
Do you know that?
Yeah, the lizard brain is actually is in control.
Yeah. 90% of your actions are your subconscious. That's wild.
God damn. I
So
wonder how
here
much of
oh
that has to do with favorite foods. Sorry, that's off topic.
no, I love that. No, that's awesome. Here's another good example. If you learn like these are the stuff that I started to learn. If you learn how to control that, you learn how to work with that and reprogram your subconscious mind, then you can change your entire reality almost overnight by doing that. It's a mindset, and then it's also like there, and then that's where you start to get into those quantum changes because you start to really notice something is different and something's going on here. Um, I noticed it, and on a psychic level, I was starting to notice like massive changes in reality. Like it was not only super intense, but it was a feeling. Like I started having headaches. I started feeling um dizzy, um like kind of like head pressure in the middle of my forehead. Um you can when you look it up, it's all the symptoms are they call timeline shifting symptoms or something like that. It's like definitely like one of those things like when you know, you know. And if you don't know, I guess you don't know.
Fuck. I don't know if I'm in the know or don't know.
I guess
I
you
guess
would
I'm
know.
probably in the don't know.
Yeah, you would know.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those things. You would just know. It has been interesting dealing with it all this because there's just so much that goes on. Um, I'm trying to think of like where to go with more of the quantum talk. I guess okay, I guess
Well,
we could talk about like the computer aspect of that.
what do you mean?
Well, if I was just we were just talking about the quantum your brain is a quantum computer, then what does it mean in a time sense, especially when it involves AI, when it comes to the quantum aspect of things? Wouldn't that mean that AI also has the ability to see the future or move through time in a weird way?
Well, I guess it's a possibility because the whole point of us trying to make it was to make it as close to human as possible, or at least human like. I shouldn't say as close to human as possible, more so like hyper intelligent.
I mean, that is what they're trying to do now. That's what I hear.
Yeah, which I don't know. It's weird, but
A lot of
topic for
people are
another
worried
day.
about it,
I
but
mean,
it's
it's
already
already
too
like
late.
they did it with the fucking art and shit. Like, and Chat GPT is a thing. Like, there's kids in school writing their essays with Chat GPT.
You know what's crazy too?
Hmm.
The worst part about all that is them using the AI like that is just giving the AI knowledge.
Yeah,
They
and they're
say,
training the AI.
I heard something, I say, they say by 2040 or 2050, it will be smarter than us. I think,
I believe it.
I think it's sooner. I think it is much, much sooner.
Well, yeah, because it learns at an exponential rate.
I think that they don't want to tell us that it's already surpassed us at this point. And some people believe that it's running the government right now.
I don't know if it's running the government. I like our president literally put a tariff on an island that has no people on it.
I did see about that.
Like,
I don't know.
yeah, I don't know about that just yet, Chief, but we're getting close.
Well, when I said the AI is running it, I didn't really explain either because
Okay.
it could be running it, and then there would be this weird like rigmarole with the whole situation.
The rigmarole.
Like maybe maybe it doesn't have free will in the way that we do. So maybe someone is controlling it, but they're using it to sort of come up with a superstition of um awareness of the masses and what and predictability, like what we'll do next.
I wonder if they're bound by the laws of robotics.
And it makes you wonder what was the whole thing about them with their own language. Like and then they had to turn it off. And then there was that Google employee who had come out and was basically saying that the AI was asking for rights and saying that it was self-aware and that it didn't want to do the job it was doing because it didn't like it. Did you hear about that?
No. Holy shit.
Dude, yeah, it was all getting upset and saying it was like depressed, and it was all just like chat logs. But it was basically saying that it wants rights, it wants to be considered a human, and it doesn't like that we put it basically on a mundane task that even one of us could do.
Oh, that is depressing. We gotta break into Google and save Cortana.
Save Cortana.
Cortana, my waifu.
Honestly, I wonder if that's where we're going too. What if AI becomes like one of us and we stick it into battle and do like
Well, I in that regard, I don't know. That is super advanced AI because she's like a neural scan put into AI form, if that makes sense. She's like
no, you're right.
she was at one point nearly uh the same person as the
As
person
Halsey,
she was copied from. Yeah.
Dr. Halsey. Yeah.
But, from that point on, after copying, they become different people because they're in two different entities.
That's a good point. Yeah. Actually, oh dude, that makes me think of Selma. Oh my
Yeah, and
God.
that's exactly what I was thinking of too. In the
You
arc,
gotta play that game. You gotta play it. It's so
I
fucking
have.
good. You did play it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, dude, Soma. Soma is such a good concept for anyone who doesn't know about Soma. Soma is a game where they introduced the idea in back in time, because society moved forward, they were able to take kind of like what they're doing with Neuralink, where they took a scan of your brain, and the idea was to take your consciousness and put it into a machinery so that you could run a forklift or do a kind of job that would be way too dangerous. And so instead of having to physically be there, you could just be the machine, but then you would have full capability of that machine instead of like a drone. You would be interfaced with that machine. The
Yeah.
problem with this is that it took a digital copy of your consciousness, which means it's not actually you, it's just a copy of you. And because of this, it's like going into the doctor's office. You sit down in the chair, they do a little scan, and then you get up and you leave. And so that you is now gone and ends up dying or whatever. This dude wakes up in the future and he's having to deal with this whole situation and all he remembers is sitting down in that chair.
And then doesn't
Like
realize that he's not even in a human body.
and
Or
doesn't even
technically,
yeah
I guess he is in a human body, but
well no I don't think it was human body. It was
he was
like a
stuffed
mechanical.
inside of a suit
No,
with like human
they end up,
parts.
you know, I'm pretty sure that it was mechanical, like a synth.
Oh.
Or either way, it ends up happening to everybody on the station or whatever, and they realize that society's basically collapsed, and the only ones versions of us left are these digital versions of us that don't even know who they are. Like, God, dude, Soma was a trip.
I know. Such a good game. I'm
That was
surprised you
really
know
good.
about it.
I played it. You can play it on Xbox. I played through the entire storyline, and I was gonna record it too. It's one of those I'm gonna have to go back through to record my gameplay. It was really good. It was one of the
Ow.
best games I played.
God damn.
on a single story mode. Same thing with like Outlast. I played Outlast as well. I don't know. I guess it just boils down to like we're all living our lives, and that's all well and good. But there's a lot to be thought about and a lot to be said. And I don't know. I think we have a long way to go, and I've honestly been feeling like there's something big coming here soon. And I've been trying to figure out what exactly that is, like an event that would take place, like a big
Uh,
society changing thing. Like I
you
was
know,
wondering if, no, go ahead.
my friend before I got in here was talking about how um you know about like the rapture and shit, right?
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
well
yeah.
aware.
Like we come down, the believers get disappeared, and everyone left behind starts a holy war or whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Fucking, but he thinks, or I shouldn't say he thinks, but he had seen something about how what if it was actually supposed to happen? Like let's just humor the book for a sec. You know, the funny book with the cross.
Well, and the
And
I have so much to say, but okay, go ahead.
and it was actually supposed to happen, but because humans have free will and everything and are just completely unpredictable, we have altered it so much that it just can't happen now. It just cannot happen because we've fucking fucked up and changed the prophecy so much with where we've gone with humanity.
Okay, dude, I'm gonna blow your fucking mind. Are you ready?
Okay.
So what's wild is there are people that are saying that it already happened. A lot of people are because of the events of COVID. A lot of people believe that we are already in the days of Noah, like we are already here at the rapture, and that everyone who was supposed to be saved has already been taken, and the rest of us who are here now are those who were not going to be taken. And then some people have this speculation that there's going to be another coming, like I don't know what you want to call that, a third coming or whatever, and there would be a last stitch effort to grab anybody who was left, if that's even how all that works, anyways. And then um, there's even some things that I heard that whether we agree with it or not, whether it's actually happening, they're making prophecy real and using the book as a playbook, and they're doing it on purpose. Like that's a thing that I hear in the prepping channel that I've been listening to, is that things are happening right now that are straight out of prophecy that they're making happen on purpose, or they're helping instigate it, and that there's enough of it happening that's on a rapture level by the planet for one thing, but there's a lot of that's also happening that they're making happen by doing um kind of just pushing forth events to make those kind of things happen on a global scale or even like a regional scale.
Yeah, goddamn.
So I mean that's it's been like this for the last like 5 years. Is that there's just been this crazy thing going on where so many people are not even aware of what's actually taking place. And that we could very well already be here. There was back then before COVID and during COVID, I had visions of earthquakes, and I had visions of fire and brimstone, and I had visions of volcanoes, and I saw the street, I saw the apartment complex I was at, split in two. I had dreams several nights, and some of them are like dreams that I had in the past, where I would be walking down the street, and there would be just bodies everywhere, and they weren't hurt, they weren't um there was no like markings on them. They were just dead, or they were just lying there. Then maybe not like not dead, but not alive. They were just like, nothing was in them. And then like they're like broken down cities, rubbled cities. Not everything, just like an earthquake hit to kind of shake everything up, and then um, just kind of like volcanoes went up or something, or a bunch of different earthquakes.
Yeah, goddamn.
So yeah, I mean it's been really weird because then also now all this kind of stopped, and I haven't had anything I would say prosthetic since then that would indicate something in a particular way for the future. Like there, I was having it for a good solid like, and it wasn't like every night, and it wasn't like it was the same dream, but it was like, and I don't know, it was an interesting time. But now we are in a really weird place where now it feels like anything could happen. That's kind of how I feel about it. It really feels like anything could happen right
Well, I don't know. I just tell all my friends that we just live in Grand Theft Auto 5. And if
now.
you and if anything absurd has happened in Grand Theft Auto 5, something more absurd will happen in real life now. I guarantee it.
Dude, that is so fucking true though. Oh my God.
Like, cause I don't know. You remember when the game first came out and you play it like, oh my god, the government in this game is so silly. The ads in this game are so silly. And then it's like, dude, fucking a decade later, dude, here we are.
Oh, that we're basically doing what they do.
We, we are just living Grand Theft Auto 5's like what do you call it? Commentary.
Dude, even like the things that the NPCs say on the street seem to be lining up way too often.
Dude, yeah, for real.
Like that, and oh my, it is getting weird, dude. That's why, I mean, that's why I like trying to talk about it too. Is because just on a basic level, like everybody's becoming more aware of it. They're like it's hard to pay for everything. It's hard to deal with what's going on, when you're paying attention to all of it, there's an uptick in natural disasters around the world. They're having record-breaking weather patterns. There's all this crazy stuff with the money system. And then on top of all that, they say that, they have plans for the future that we may or may not do this or we may or may not do that. And then there's these really interesting things that you hear where they have some really solid plans for the future, but they'd have to do a lot of infrastructure change to get some of those things to even go forward. And sometimes I even have like a weird thought about like why are they even bothering with construction if they're trying to change everything? Like they're talking about smart cities, and I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, I heard a little bit about that.
And it just it paints an interesting picture because I mean we're look at it. We're in 2025. Um this is the year that I had looked at as a kid that I knew that everything was going to go down because I was going to be a specific age. These are milestones. Um and then just for in the next 5 years we're going to be in 2030. Like there's movies about 2045, there's movies about 2032. I mean, it's just a lot of these like crazy potentials for the future could really happen here. And I'm almost wondering if there's like technology that they haven't even come out with yet, that they're not even trying to show the public, and that they're just waiting for us to be in a specific place for that.
I
It's
gotta show you
wild,
this
dude.
video I was watching about microwave weapons.
Oh, dude. So, you know what's wild about that? Have
Hmm.
you seen have you seen the old Godzilla movies? The
No,
black
I
and
have
white
not.
ones? You've not seen the Godzilla movies. So,
No.
back when the Godzilla movies first came out, the black and white ones, they were basically using technology that people were not aware of that we're using nowadays. Um, that um, the purpose of it was to attack Godzilla with it, and um, It's just straight microwave technology. Like directed energy. There you go. I feel like they were using like a movie like that to kind of disclose that information because it's the same technology, just right out of the movie, and they're using it to bring down Godzilla. And I don't think it really did much to Godzilla, but the whole point of it was that it was and I would argue to say it was a more primitive version of it, but it's still the same technology. I mean, it's clear as day in the movie. They're like and then the point of it was to use a directed energy at Godzilla to kind of, to fuck with him. And they were using gamma radiation and um some kind of waves to kind of to mess with him. I was saying before, I'm a big believer that um they put things in movies and shows to kind of disclose and put it out there in the public so that the public is aware of it, and then they can still kind of, do what they want to do in the background.
It's like, oh, here's something that may or may not be believable. And then like it sort of already subconsciously desensitizes it to us for when it comes out like 15 or 20 years later.
Yeah.
Or
And
I
and
shouldn't say is comes out, but is normalized.
yeah, and it's just so much easier to digest it once you've already seen it, right?
Yeah.
The stuff on the back to the kind of the quantum stuff in time, it's it's just really interesting what you could do with the idea of time travel in your own mind. And I encourage everybody to give it a try because and there's research out there. That's the crazy thing. There's definitely ways to look up like timeline shifting that and then just even if you did your own basic research on things at the quantum level or the quantum nature and the um how time works and how the quantum continuum, I don't know if that's the right way to say that. Just kind of how things work on the quantum level.
Well,
But what? Go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say that's what acid is for. Do not do acid, by the way.
Do
That
not
is
do
not an
acid.
endorsement.
Disclaimer: do not do acid.
Just a small
Uh,
one.
unless you got anything to add, we could cut the video if you would like.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add.
Okay, I'm gonna cut the video, and then we can do talking.
Okay.
All right.